So I started the garden because as a teacher, I've been at this school now for about 5 years, and I have walked past this garden for those 5 years, and there's never been anything inside of it. And I always wondered to myself, like, why isn't anyone using it? Why isn't anyone planting in it? And so I told myself this year, if no one actually plants anything in this garden, that I'm gonna plant something, and we did. So sustainability is a really important part of this garden because we want to make sure that it's something that we can keep going, something that we can do year after year after year. But the idea is that we can come to school, we'll open up the garden, we'll plant some things, and then we'll harvest all the fruits and vegetables that we're growing, and then close the beds down where they won't need any water or weeding or any type of maintenance. And so that will mean that there's very, very minimal work that needs to be done, if any, in the garden during the summer. At the end of school, we'll cover all the beds again and put them on hold until the following year. So they won't require any maintenance. It'll all be minimal, and anything else, any other type of work that needs to be done can be managed by one individual, either a person from the community, a teacher that's willing to volunteer, or a staff member, a custodial staff member. The science engineering team is also intimately involved in designing a drip irrigation system. And ideally, with the funds that we use from the grant, we'll have a drip irrigation system, which will mean it will just be automatic. No one will actually have to physically water the garden during the summer. Students have been involved in that from the very beginning, and we have several teams that we've decided should work in the garden. So we have, for instance, a garden team. And the garden team is essentially a team that does the work, the physical work of the gardening, the digging, the planting, the weeding. Any kind of work that needs to be physically done in the garden is done by the garden team, which is made up of entirely students only. And then we also have a science and engineering team, and that team does all of kind of like the thought work that it goes into the garden. I had students doing a flow rate on our hose. How fast was the water flowing out of the hose? Another team that we have working in the garden is the digital media team. So the digital media team creates flyers and posters and digital announcements that we make. And we're not planning on teaching students about gardening. We're not planning on teaching students about planting. We're not doing any specific curriculum through the garden. What we're doing is we're using the garden as a space where our teachers on campus can have a resource that they can use to implement their own curriculum. In middle school, we have students that are doing things like creating a site plan, a site drawing using AutoCAD. Students are working on designing and building a drip irrigation system. So that's the project that they've assumed from their science engineering elective that they're using the garden to build, test, and implement. One of the other areas that we can use the garden, that's planning on using the garden, is our arts electives. And so, for instance, first and foremost, this video is being produced, directed, and created by students. And so the video production is using the garden as a space to do a documentary for an assignment in that particular class. I've also seen students in here just drawing, creating pictures, doing artwork in here because it's just a space that's quiet and contemplative and a place that you can create. So one of the other questions in our grant application was about involving the community, and I think that's one of the things that I love about this garden and about this project. We have partnered with the Farm and Food Lab in the Great Park, and they have been instrumental in helping us get our garden started. They provided us with seeds, they're a resource for questions and answers, and they've come to our garden itself to help us. Our project has already been implemented on a smaller scale, and all we're looking to do is to grow the garden throughout the next many years. I personally have been here in the garden over the weekend, and there's all sorts of families and people from the neighborhood who are here, and they come to the garden as I'm here watering or fertilizing or doing whatever. And I've had lots of conversations with people from the neighborhood who've just been here curious about what's going on, what type of things are planted here, what is this, what is that, and just asking kind of questions about the garden. So one of the things I love about this project is the different parts of campus that we can involve and the community that we can involve as well.